I already knew that. But you come back. Hey, you won't do that. Crazy dog was going to attack me. But just right back to where she was. Calm down. Come on, Libby. Come on, Libby. But anyways, guys, yeah, a lot to talk about. Majority of the PLEs for WWE is are have been officially confirmed, and yeah, Milwaukee is not on the list, but that gives me into like an option that I think that they're gonna do. So especially wait for them to announce a show for Milwaukee for this long is kind of shocking at the same time. But you'll probably will get my drift. But like I said, we're gonna have a lot to talk about today. We're gonna talk about the results of Unbreakable for TNA. Our rate and grade that. Also WrestleMania both nights, both Saturday and Sunday. We'll do that. Like I said, talk about a little bit, all the pay per view, well, PLEs, I should say, are confirmed. Also, a review of, DareDevil Born Again, season one. And we already know they're going to make season two, so we're going to talk about that. And, some Bucks news that y'all probably just heard about today. So we will talk about that. So let me get the, let's see. Yeah, give me a second here. So we're gonna try to get results for Unbreakable. As TNA has another pay per view, which would be this Sunday. So yeah, insane, right? uh, just wait for that to load up. Yeah, we ain't gonna talk about anything, developments that's going on in Milwaukee today because it really ain't, much. The only thing that was, talk about there was talk about housing. So not really anything, like major or anything like that. Okay. I can't even. Oh crap, they were safe. Yeah, it is. Y'all don't mind me. Let's see. A bacon bandit. Hey, from Texas. Bryce. Hello. Arya and Zamora and Abby. Hello. I missed that. Never give up on YouTube. Thank you, Bryce. Yeah, that is true. So, I'm just trying to get a little bit of things set up before I do the, the pre-recorded. Here we go. Unbreakable results. So let's get to that. So y'all actually get to enjoy like 5 hours of TNA this past Thursday. So the episode then had the Unbreakable. I think TNA and WWE should like do something together. At least have you have like TNA Thursday, then that Unbreakable pay per view, then Friday SmackDown, then Saturday and Sunday WrestleMania. Of course, tonight with Raw, and tomorrow is going to conclude with like NXT. So that's gonna be pretty huge. So just trying to check out so I don't want to. Okay, good. Just go from the top to the bottom. Okay, so let me try to do the recorded episode for YouTube, and let me try to get rid of a few things here. That, that, and keep one. So let's do screencast. Let me move this up. And we can go with right now. So for those who's watching, or pre-recorded, this is WFSO Aftermath Special. Welcome. As I was just telling the people that was on live, what we're going to talk about today. Of course, we're going to talk about results of TNA Unbreakable, which happened this past Thursday in Vegas. And we also going to talk about, both our WrestleManias on Saturday and Sunday. All the PLEs for like not like NXT, but like all the PLEs for WWE. For the main roster has been confirmed during Raw. So we're going to talk about that, and of course, I'm going to have a lot to say about that. DareDevil Born Again, we were talking about the review of that because the last episode was like this past Wednesday, and yeah, just kind of more of us to say it's kind of a little bit of a brutal if you want to say that from the ending of it. Also talk about Bucks news when it comes to Damian Lillard. So we will talk about that. So let's start off with results of TNA Wrestling Unbreakable. So I think majority of these matches I got wrong, but like I said, that's a good thing for like having some shows be like unpredictable. So that's always a good thing. And as you can tell, of course, they ain't had no pre-show or anything like that because Impact was going on around that time. So it's like, how would they end up doing, a pre-show? Um, so anyway, the first match was, Eric Young, Jack Reed wins, and JDC, and I thought JDC was going to win one at least for the system, but that did not go that way. So it ended up being Eric Young ended up winning that match, and decent match. No interference from either the system or Northern Army, so which is kind of surprised. So I guess just made the match more interesting and more fun. Um, the bracket so far, and I will apologize on my WFSO preview when it comes to Unbreakable. So I was thinking like, how did AJ Francis end up advancing? I forgot, the not last week but the week before it was the triple threat that he had against Mance Warner and Sammy Callahan, and he ended up winning that for him to advance. So my apologies on that. Then you have Eddie Edwards, where Alyssa Edwards versus Ace Austin versus Steve Macklin, and I thought there'd be something good for Ace Austin, but like yes, I'll say Steve Macklin did deserve it, and he did beat Eddie Edwards and Ace Austin, so then made it interesting. So that was pretty good. Moose had an open challenge and ended up challenging him was Cindy Akin. If y'all don't know who he is, in WWE he was called Reggie, and also Scripps. So yeah, a couple of nicknames and stuff like that. And this was a good showing, especially a good showing. Like I would think it would probably would have been a somebody from NXT was going to make the challenge and interesting, but this was good too. So don't get me wrong, it was very good. But yeah, of course Moose did retain. Although it was a good match, so can't change that. Okay, so they was talking about the injury report and stuff like that too. Before that, but anyways, then you had the 6-man tag with Mike Santana and the Hardys go against Mustafa Ali and Nick and Ryan Nemeth. The thing was that oh crap, so they're gonna score. Yep, they're gonna score. Yep. Now it's a high game, so that probably would be an error. Sorry, I'm just watching the Brewers game and talk about this at the same time. Yeah, that really sucks. A little bit of double play. Oh well, it's like the fifth inning, so still time. But anyways, I saw a majority of this match and I forgot the results of this one. So it was just a lot of stuff going on that Thursday. So you know, okay, so the Hardys and Mike Santana did beat them. So okay, but it was a good match overall. Hey, what's up, No No? Let's see. Okay, Dirty Dango and Eddie Edwards took out Zachary wins that backstage. I must have missed a little bit of that. Yeah, because I think it was something was going on that time that I was watching this and something else. I can't even remember what it was. And sorry about the curtain. Got my son's dog behind me. I'm just watching outside. No, of course Victoria Crawford, also known as Alicia Fox, was there. So she's retired from wrestling and all that, and a few celebrities were there too. So very interesting. Um, the tag team match, the champions versus the challengers. You got Joe Hendry and Masa Slamovich going against Frank Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard. It would be interesting. They would have done, a winner take all. Like, it was back then at SummerSlam. Like, I think it was Mickey James and Kofi Kingston. Mickey with the Divas Championship and Kofi with the Intercontinental Championship. Went against Beth Phoenix and Santino. This was a SummerSlam. I can't remember what year, but I know it was in SummerSlam. Could have been '08 or '07, not sure. Um, but anyways, so champions versus challengers, it was decent. But yeah, Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich did win their match. Which is gonna be the question, what Joe Hendry's a triple threat match, with Ethan Page and Frank Kazarian, because Kazarian is going to cash in his Call Your Shot on trophy for his title shot. So it does the same thing you think with Tessa Blanchard. Like, is she going to win it too? Although she right now she's got a lot of heat on her since her return. So just got to think of what's going on and what's going to happen. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's a good way to stop somebody. So that match, and Chris Bay came out, just talking to the crowd a little bit and said he will work on, his return. So, it's a miracle that he is walking. Although they re-showed the incident that happened that actually, had him paralyzed. Might as well just say temporarily because now, he's standing on his own 2 feet. So you like to see stuff like that like going on with some wrestlers that have like injuries like that, suddenly like come back and everything works out for the greater good. Um okay, so there's that, and that was okay, that was okay. Wow, yeah. This match, the barbed wire massacre, they said this was the sixth time in TNA history that they done this type of match. And crazy to say, but yeah, this match had to be match of the night to Mance Warner and Sammy Callahan. So this match, was totally brutal and wow. It was just crazy blood everywhere and just a lot of stuff that was going on in there, which was pretty good. Especially they did a little tribute to Mick Foley with the Callahan using Mr. Sacco wrapping barbed wire and you know end up doing it to Mance Warner. But yeah, this was very brutal, and for two men that's known for for like type of hardcore matches anyway. So what a way to make it interesting. So Sammy Callahan did get the win, finally beat Mance Warner. I don't know if they both going to move on from this or is this feud over or whatever. We don't know. But if it's over, what a way Sammy Callahan to get the win finally against Mance Warner. So yeah, okay, yeah, they were talking about a little bit Chris Angel, like you were there. Elijah, did his like little bit of performance and issued an open challenge for TNA Rebellion this Sunday. So who's going to accept that challenge? We don't know, but we'll see. So I guess TNA Rebellion will be interesting. So just see what happens with that one with Elijah going against an unnamed opponent. Maybe come on, but yep, and there she goes. And anyways, main event, they showed the international championship, which it was a former uh digital media champion, which the last person to won it was PCO, and the first person to win it was Jordan Grace. So why not? In TNA, a Triple Crown winner. I guess the thing is it would have been cool if she would have been like Tessa Blanchard, TNA World Champion. I don't know. My opinion, she could have put it off, but I guess that's just me. But anyways, the finals with Steve Macklin and Eric versus Eric Young versus AJ Francis. At one point, Steve Macklin and Eric Young was teaming up, to attack AJ Francis because AJ Francis was kind of showing a little bit of dominance in the match. So it is crazy. Like I said, it was a good match overall. Steve Macklin is now the TNA International Champion, so well deserved for him. And finally, get the fans, behind him on this side. It took a bit, so I'm just glad TNA ended up, just refocused because people was cheering them. Then they started booing them. Then they not recycle, but restep, redo it again, and Steve Macklin, yeah, now I got the fans on his side, and like I said, the international championship, and he'd be the first to do it, so that's well deserved. So that's good for him. But they also mentioned on here, so for Rebellion as well, that whoever doesn't get pinned will be the one that challenged on Steve or the winner of it at Rebellion. So AJ Francis was the one that got pinned by Steve Macklin. So Steve Macklin will defend it against Eric Young at Rebellion for the international championship. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And once again, congratulations to Steve Macklin. So that's pretty good. Um, okay, the Hardys officially invited the Namis to the Hardy compound. Probably something they're going to do this Thursday on Impact. So interesting. Like I said, that barbed wire match, with Mance Warner and Sammy Callahan. Like I said, I call that match of the night. But although this, it was a 3 hour pay per view, but I'm gonna grade it and I'm gonna rate it. I'm probably gonna grade it like maybe like a A minus. Just because I know the main focus was just to for that international title. So I know that was the main focus on it, but I think they could have added a no, they couldn't add a tag team match. I think they could have added like one more title that could have been defended, and not the knockouts, but maybe the knockouts tag team. I just think they could have added, one more match that had like a, title on the line. But that's just me. So A minus, and I will rate it. 1 out of 10, maybe like a 9. Yeah, I'd give it a 9 and rated it graded it like a minus. So we're gonna move on from that, and this weekend we will talk about my predictions on TNA Rebellion this Sunday. I don't know if I'm gonna actually order the pay-per-view. Maybe a late birthday present for myself. Who knows? I may do that. So I guess it's. I'm not gonna jump to conclusions just yet, but we'll see. Anyways, okay, we can get off that and let's go into WrestleMania. Do they got both night one and night two? Let's just do more easier. Complete WrestleMania deserves because I'm not just gonna like go to. Let me see. There we go, better. All of night one and night two, so we can do that just to make it more easier. So we won't have to, skip things and just talk about the whole WrestleMania in general. So they both gonna have, Saturday and Sunday results. So congratulations to Jay Uso. Defeated Gunter with winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Um, some people, come on, baby, come on. Hold on, y'all. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You need me to grab you? Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Hey, leave her alone. Okay, you can sit down now. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't try to hurt you, Libby. You can lay down. Go ahead. But anyways, like I said, congratulations to Jay Uso, and yeah, majority of no, I'm not gonna say majority of the people. I'm gonna say some people were not happy because Gunter ended up tapping out to his own move to Jay Uso within them like maybe like about 5-6 seconds, and people were upset about that. But half of us wasn't even thinking about that. We were just happy that Jay won it.
But you know what else happened?
What?
WrestleMania. We believed in Joe. Who got it right?
You did. We will get to that at that point. But anyways, I guess it's like I can understand why some fans upset Gunter ended up tapping like 5 seconds compared to But then again, I guess we got to look at it other way. Maybe WWE was probably running out of time because night one was
because they believed in Joe Hendrick.
But they WWE had to do stuff in a certain amount of time, so they might just have to have them tap out quick because of time. So most of these matches was like almost like in half an hour a piece. So yeah, it was like what more can you do? Not I was expected a little bit more of this tag team match. Not from the War Raiders, but the New Day. So it this probably be the only match on the card for Saturday was not that great. Like I don't know if they were taking their time or I don't know. It's just like it was a bad pace for that match, and I'm not blaming the War Raiders. I'm blaming the New Day. So it was just not that much of a pace. So that's just my opinion. But everybody they have their own opinion, and oh no, uh, Giants took the lead, 3-2 now. Um, but anyways, New Day I think it's the record breaking 12 times that they won it as a tag team. So yeah, they say it is a WWE record that the New Day won the tag title for the 12th time. Okay, now y'all, some of y'all may not like. Some of y'all was complaining about this match too, but the Jade Cargill and Naomi match. I'm sorry, that was a match of the night for Saturday. I'm not saying that's the best match overall, but that was the match of the night for me for that Saturday. That's just my opinion. And some people would still have problems with Jade Cargill and talk about they thinking she still needs more training and things like that. But for those times, because they have to sell the attack and stuff for her to get retrained or whatever they want to call it. But only saw like minor mistakes for her like in the past and stuff like that. But I don't know. But fans think they know everything. And I guess I can put myself in that category too. But you go on opinions and you go on facts too. So that's just one way to put it. But anyways, Jay Cargill did beat Naomi, and I don't care what anybody says. I thought that was a match of the night for Saturday. So good WrestleMania debut for her solo debut, I should say, for Jay Cargill. So congratulations to her. Um, now, this was a good match too. LA Knight defended the U.S. title against Jacob Fatu, and Jacob Fatu ended up winning the match. You might as well say, did he did it all by himself? I believe he did, with like no interference or anything like that. So Jacob Fatu did his thing, and and now he's a second Samoan, as they said, that won the United States title. Y'all probably don't know who the first one that won the United States title. So it ended up being Roman Reigns. Crazy that sounds. And I thought, Dragon Lee was going to get his moment at WrestleMania, was going to go against El Grande Americano, but it ended up being Ray Phoenix. Um, I don't know why Dragon Lee just couldn't get his moment and stuff. I can understand, they got to put Ray Phoenix to make his WrestleMania debut and stuff like that. Same thing for El Grande Americano. You already know who he is, but anyways, I thought, they take.
Alyssa's grandma wants Jace one day this week, so we said Wednesday. So then we could perhaps go out somewhere to eat Wednesday instead of having stuff delivered, and we haven't got to worry about Jace.
Oh,
Okay?
okay,
But we'll have him got him Friday through Sunday, so.
right.
So I was thinking we won't have his nightlight, nothing like that if we were adding Wednesday night where we're going.
Oh yeah, and he probably wouldn't even go to sleep. So
Right.
yeah, good point.
And then his other grandma wants him, his great grandma, so.
Yeah, why not? But I was thinking that maybe they'll take off Grande Americano's mask, and although what he did to Dragon Lee, I think it was either last week or the week before, he took off his mask and distracted him and ended up beating him. So I was thinking Dragon Lee would have got revenge. That would have been something. But why not? Like the match wasn't disappointing. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted this storyline with this Grande Americano to be over with, but sadly, it's still going to continue on. So, this not my favorite storyline in WWE with with Grande Americano, especially making a big joke out of it. Like, so right now, that's my least favorite storyline. I understand, you want to get Chad Gable over, so I don't know, have him go for the IC title or something like that. Instead, you got the Creed brothers that and he had a title, or Ivy now. It's like, what are you gonna do with them? I don't know. Just my thoughts. Um, Hallelujah for this match. We already know, Charlotte Flair is going to deliver, but Tiffany Stratton delivered. Then you got a few people that are still complaining about this match, but they was happy with the outcome. So Tiffany Stratton did retain the women's title against Charlotte Flair. So thank God about that. And Another good thing too with this that this feud ain't gonna be over, so they're probably gonna end up continuing. So you know, make it interesting. But anyways, good thing, Tiffany won, and she ain't gonna move on because Charlotte gonna be essential, like trying to win the women's title. So it's like one of those wait and see. So we will see. And the main event of night one, Seth Rollins defeated CM Punk and Roman Reigns in an awesome triple threat match, which ended in a little bit of controversy. So towards the end of the match, you got CM Punk. All three guys were down. Both CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman got a chair, then passed it to Punk. Punk was going to hit Roman. I don't know if he's going to get. I think he's going to try to hit either Seth or Roman Reigns, but suddenly Paul Heyman, did the low blow on CM Punk, which was kind of shocking. Roman did smile a little bit. Which the fans didn't care at first. They was like, okay, he's gonna be his alliance with Roman Reigns. You know what? Okay, why not? So Roman Reigns hit CM Punk with a chair a few times, then saw Seth Rollins, then he was on the verge to hit him, then Paul Heyman hit him with a low blow. And you're thinking like, okay. But I know majority of us see that coming a mile away because of what Seth Rollins said to Paul Heyman. Either it was last week or it could have been the week. No, it was the week before. I'm sorry. So that kind of plays in people's minds. Like, well, Paul Heyman ended up joining with Seth Rollins. So, and that was the thing. So Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman joined forces, and we will talk about the closing moments of Raw that happened earlier tonight, which kind of made things a little bit more interesting. So we will see, but good match and cool for night one. Let's see. I guess we can talk about the results of you know. I guess I can quickly grade night one. So and night one. Night one was actually, I would give it like an A minus, and I would grade it like A minus, but I would rate it a 9. Very close to a 10 because that tag team championship match with New Day and War Raiders kind of felt a little flat. So that was probably my only issue with night one was that tag team match. You know, un- unbelievable. Um, Now we go on to night two with Io Sky defending the title, the world women's title, uh, against Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Some people end up turning against Bianca Belair for a bit. Then you know, and of course Bianca Belair is undefeated when it comes to 1-on-1. So that streak is over, and good showing for all three women from what I saw. But other personal reasons why I didn't see the beginning of this match. But yeah, but this the middle and the closing moments of it. So interesting. So glad Io Sky retained. So I don't think you don't want to just like okay give it back to Rhea Ripley. Then the fans get like all upset. It's like we know she lost to her, but like why? Then if they would give it to Bianca Belair, then the fans at Vegas would have flipped their lid. They would have get upset. You 'Cause, when it comes to fans, when it comes to WrestleMania, they get weird. So we'll talk about more about that situation later. And Sin City Street Fight, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. So not too bad, but It was like a hard decision, like saying like who needed it more, but I guess it ended up being Drew McIntyre that needed it more. But I think that feud is going to be far from over. So it's going to be more going on with that. And, it's like one of those, wait and see. You know what I mean? Um, of course, this is the wife's, favorite two wrestlers, and she was happy either way. Um, Now the Intercontinental Championship, you got Braun Breaker defending against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio in the Fatal 4-Way match. And I know I did mention that, it'll be a good shocker, to surprise the crowd that have Dominic Mysterio win this match. But I was saying like, not Knight to Penta and, Braun Breaker can probably, move on from maybe from the IC title, maybe, go for the world title, possibly. That possibly can happen, but I think right now, the closing moments of Raw, you got Breaker and Seth, teaming up, with Paul Heyman going against, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. So different, but another good match. All four, it was Penta's WrestleMania debut. I think it was the same thing with Braun Breaker too. So it would think it was his WrestleMania debut. So good showing, and like I said, Dominic Mysterio now IC title and finally, won a solo championship. Well, besides the North American championship in NXT, which he didn't hold for long, but his first actual, main roster solo title. So we move on from that, and of course Carlito is still getting beaten by Braun Breaker, which is interesting. And of course Randy Orton did have a open challenge, and as the Miss guessed it right before it came out, nobody didn't know who was going to challenge him. I was thinking maybe they would call somebody up and maybe get a challenge. Who knows? But this is the first time that somebody in the active TNA roster, was on a WrestleMania match, and yeah, it ended up being Joe Hendry. Ended up, answering the challenge.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah, the wife did call it, and like I said, we didn't look at no backstage, stuff, or didn't read no dirt sheets or anything like that. We were just like, just want to be surprised, and we'll just see what happened. And she guessed it, and maybe like about 20 seconds later, he came out.
So I was just saying it as a joke.
Yeah, I know you were saying it as a joke, but yeah, it actually happened. So I know some people were disappointed of the length of the match and thinking like Joe Hendry got buried. These were the same people that got upset, that Jordan Grace didn't get that, long of a time in the Royal Rumble last year because she wasn't in there that long. But then again, that that kind of started a little bit. I wouldn't say that kind of started a little bit of partnership because the year before they had Mickey James in the Royal Rumble match for the women, and she was signed with TNA at the time. So I mean, TNA and WWE, they've been working with each other for like years, and they just haven't put it out there. And the partnership with them, right here, with although Joe Hendry did lose to Randy Orton, did gave the big moment to Joe Hendry and the TNA, where people don't like how like how short the match was or not. It did give TNA more exposure. So they're gonna probably talk about it more on NXT maybe, or talk about it more on TNA this coming Thursday. So Randy Orton gave John Henry his moment, then he RKO him again. But then again, you can't be upset because that's typical Randy Orton. Everybody should have known something like that was gonna happen. So can't get upset.
What the hell is outside?
It was like a truck, but I think it was like a what's they call those
Is it the road sweeper?
No, it wasn't a road sweeper because they would have went a little bit slower than that. It was like a city truck, but just couldn't tell what it was. But like I said, Joe Henry did have his moment. It wasn't like a really squash match because Joe Henry did, got some moves in and stuff like that. So him being too excited that he was, in a WrestleMania for his WrestleMania debut, and suddenly, got a little bit distracted, got too excited, he got RKO for his troubles. But for people that say, Joe Hendry got buried, no, he didn't. If he got buried, you guys, would have hated him and like get upset to the ground, and you know. But if y'all saw, the matches that he did in NXT, he's not buried. He's not buried. And like I said, this gives TNA a little bit more exposure. So good news on that, and hopefully people will probably turn into TNA, and plus with Joe Hendry's popularity growing for the last few years, why not? Good move. So I don't care what anybody says that they think he got buried. That's a good move, and good for Joe Henry. And Triple H did mention on a post show that this won't this is the first for Joe Hendry, but it won't be the last. So maybe they got more plans, coming up for maybe next year's WrestleMania. You never know. But then again, TNA and WWE got like a multi-year deal that NXT stars can go to NXT. But now, but besides, you saw it with Jordan Grace. Now you see, TNA stars going, against the main roster. So why not? Pretty cool. I don't care what anybody said, but that was awesome. AJ Styles, Logan Paul, and some people were upset with that too. That AJ Styles lost. And I think they don't understand. They got to build. Some. I wouldn't say Logan Paul is like officially a new star, but they just really, really just have to build him up. So this is good for Logan Paul. AJ Styles, a good thing. Yeah, everybody's saying hi to Ivy. Although she's looking at me weird. But anyways, so let me move this a little bit so get that curtain out the way. And yeah, like I said, for the coming months, you're gonna see more of her. Um, like I said, no issues with this match, and that finisher with Logan Paul when he debuted that finisher, I think it was a couple weeks ago, was very impressive. So they call it he called it the pulverizer, which is a good move, and something he probably created and tried to like think of something different, and why not? It was pretty good. Either way, another good match. Um, Next one, the worst kept secret. Yeah, Live Lycuria going against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. And oh, believe me, I'm happy that the tag team, the women's tag team champion, get to be featured in WrestleMania. I think it was featured last year too, where I think it was with Jade and Bianca holding it. So I'm just glad it was like featured. We can understand, the other matches like the Intercontinental and United States women's title wasn't like featured or anything like that. But you know, we understand, and plus, sorry, certain amount of time that they got to work with too. So what more can you do? So like I said, why I said the worst kept secret is because Becky Lynch ended up being, her tag team partner. And you know what? Because rumors been pointing out there, and like I said, I haven't seen any dirt sheets like leading to like WrestleMania or anything like that. But you just had some people, certainly popping up. Maybe Becky Lynch is due to return. Becky Lynch due to return. So what? Whatever. But I like it that her 3-year old kind of hijacked the post show when she was on when her and Vira was getting interviewed. Lyra, I'm sorry. So that was pretty funny. But yep, Lyra Akira and Becky Lynch. Now the women's I would say for that moment they were the women's tag title. So Lyra Akira, two belts with the Intercontinental and also the tag team titles. So let me just get into what happened on Raw. So Raquel and Liv got their rematch, and Lyra and Becky end up losing the titles to them back to them. So Liv and Raquel are the women's tag team champions for the fourth time. That's a record. And what Dom of course he ended up retaining the Intercontinental Championship. So a good thing for Judgment Day. So maybe either JB or Finn, or you have JB JD McDowell, which he did return on Raw to assist Dominic being Penta for it. So you got maybe you have Carlito and JD McDowell go for the tag titles, and maybe Finn will go for the world title. You never know. Maybe then strengthen up Judgment Day. You never know. Um, I don't know. You're just thinking that sooner or later, like Judgment Day is going to get like over with, or just going to get reshaped. So that's a possibility. So it's like one of those like wait and see. But like I said, it was a worst kept secret, like with Becky Lynch, and what more can you do? Now the main event of night two. Um, a lot of people was upset with this match because no, they wasn't upset that John Cena did when some people were. Let me change that. Some people were upset. John Cena broke the record for in the WWE, not the wrestling industry. So some people can chill because some people would be like, Ric Flair still holds the record. He's a 24-time world champion. Yeah, true, but the titles he won within WWE and now in their brackets now, only in WCW, ECW, once partner, with NWA at one point, and also other stuff. So yeah, they're not gonna do like the whole industry or anything like that. They're just gonna do stuff back then. Of course, in WWE he was a two-time WWE championship, and of course with WCW a multiple-time champion, and NWA another once again he was a multi-time world champion. So for people, calm down. He broke the record in WWE, not the whole world. So y'all can chill. Ric Flair still got a record, but he beat Ric Flair's record like in WWE standards of being a champion. So for that point, y'all guys can relax. Um, I think some people was happy, a little bit of the pace like John Cena was taking too. He was trying to take a little slow pace and trying to be, dominant in that match too. Um, if y'all didn't hear the man, he said he's gonna ruin wrestling. So that means getting you guys upset. And if he did that, he did his job. Um, but I did pick, Cody to retain because I wanted John Cena, to chase it and maybe he can win it like at a either backlash and now maybe a possibly Money in the Bank pay per view, which we will get to all that stuff in a bit. But yeah, I didn't hear what John Cena had to say at the beginning of Monday Night Raw, but the end results was Randy Orton RKO John Cena. So them two probably gonna end up feuding, and I'm surprised, they ain't gonna give Cody Rhodes a rematch. Maybe they will eventually, but it's like the wait and see. Um, let's see, Travis Scott did interfere, but no, it was enough. Cody Rhodes was about to hit John Cena with the head with the belt. John was like pleading and stuff, and Cody couldn't, and it did cost him the match. And John Cena with the low blow hit him with the title in the pin. So I thought he would, done that on low blow, hit him with the title, then did the, attitude adjustment and would have ended from there. But, wherever the case may be. It was a hard choice, like to choose a match of the night for Sunday. It was like really like a hard choice. But if the match was a little bit longer, it would have been Randy Orton and Joe Hendry. That would have been, my match of the night. But normally I don't have main event, the main event be like, match of the night. But I think this time the John Cena and Cody Rhodes were the match of the night. Although, I got my prediction wrong and I'm okay with it. But yeah, given the John Cena and Cody Rhodes match of the night. But I know people like was upset because, The Rock kind of set this all up and, no Rock. And I know some people was, upset that, the story kind of fell flat because The Rock didn't appear. Which I can understand is people's getting upset about it. I can understand that. But it's like, what more can you do? Like, he got other stuff going on. Like with, movies, of course only the what they call that football league? The United Football League. Busy running that and also, on board of directors of TKO and WWE and things like that. So yeah. And plus, The Rock doing movies, so Rock is a busy man. So, and you kind of see why, John Cena, like this year will be, the last year of him, as a wrestler because, he want to get, do more movies and want to, retire while he's still in like good shape. So, ain't nothing wrong with that. Um, and I guess he had an interview earlier on the Pat McAfee show. It was like, he did promise the fans, you know what, this year, me like wrestling, that's it. And no amount of money will make me, come out of retirement, stuff like that. He probably gonna make appearances and stuff like that, but maybe, attack somebody or, whatever the case may be. But like probably like an in-ring like competition, he's probably not gonna do that after when it comes to December. Um, if y'all don't know, they're planning on maybe making a PLE event for him calling it ruthless aggression, but that's the rumor right now, and it's supposed to be in Boston in December. Don't know when, but it's like one of those things, wait and see. Um, but yeah, night two, grade and rate, night two. Um, Let me think. Like I said, the undisputed WWE Championship was the match of the night for night two. And I said Jay Cargill versus Naomi was the match of the night for night one. Um, as you have to say, night two by the slight edge was better than night one. Normally, you had it's night one, night two. Ever since the WrestleMania does like the 2 night event. Normally, you always go with night one because night one was always good, but this time, with Triple H, full control. Night two had a little bit of a slight edge over night one, just a slight edge. Um, but like overall grading it, I would give night two an A, but I will like give it an A for grading, and I will give let's see, rated night two a 9. So both nines, but night one got an A minus and night two got an A. So that's my grade for that one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now they gotta get stuff set up for backlash will be a, not too long from now, maybe like a few weeks, I believe. So yeah, got that going on. Then like I said, let's get to these PLEs and stuff like that. So all the PLEs except for two of them has been confirmed. So everything right now, for not the NXT PLEs, but the WWE PLEs are official. Of course, you already know about Backlash in St. Louis. And of course, they mentioned on Saturday that WWE and TKO have acquired AAA, so they're gonna do something big for them, which will be in LA with Worlds Collide. Will be earlier that day in LA. Then they did, officially announce on Sunday, well, yesterday, that although Milwaukee was in the bid for Money in the Bank, but don't know how they end up losing it, but because Los Angeles was not like in the run or anything like that, or they didn't talk about it, but somehow big cities always win. So which is like my big frustration is just like come on now. Milwaukee hasn't had a pay per view since Fastlane. That was in 2017. So yeah, it's been like nearly a decade since we had like a PLE. Like we always had these, SmackDown, Raw, and stuff, and like things like that. And I'm glad, they ain't gonna do no more house shows. But still, we done everything for everything for like get an update on the convention center. Got a new arena, and I know there's still some missing parts that's in the Deer District, but that will be all started to and conclude at least like in 2027 or 2028. Everything will be concluded. Um, and not just WWE in general, but the NBA as well. Is like we got this like new arena, then we got this convention that's updated, and the NBA looked the other way. Although Milwaukee and the Bucks had put a bid for get the All Star game, so they didn't officially name 2027 or 2028 for the All Star just yet. But it's either the same places always get it twice or more than that. It's just insane. Like I'm not going to talk about the MLB All Star Game because the Brewers they had it in '02. I know we're gonna be due for one, but I'm not expecting us to have it. Maybe in the 2030s we'll probably will have like an MLB All Star Game. But right now, especially with the retooling and reconstructing the American Family Field, you know, I don't see them having it unless a shocker to be like, okay, 2027, 2028, the Brewers will have the All Star game. Like, okay, so at least the Brewers did have it in '02, so not that long, and for the Bucks to have like the All Star game since '74, so yeah, it's been some years. But I would say, yeah, over 50 years since they last had an All Star game, and make that make sense. Oh, I could be wrong. It could have been '78. So, but still, like nearly 50 years, and still didn't have an All Star game since. Like we had two arenas different, the Bradley Center and now Pfizer Forum. No All Star game. Like seriously. And yeah, there was some stuff was being developed in that area around that time too. But still, could have happened if the MLB can have an All Star game in Milwaukee. It's like why the NBA can do the follow. Like seriously, like it's good that we have more
Well,
conventions, huh?
we last had the All Star Game February 13th, 1977, at the Mecca Arena.
Thank you, because I know I was a little bit off when I said '74, so I knew I was off.
Nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah.
The Western Conference defeated the Eastern Conference with a score of 125 to 124. Julius Erving of the Philadelphia 76ers was awarded the MVP.
Although he was playing for the East, so yeah, kind of weird. But then again, the NBA was different back then, and I think the Bucks at the time was still in the Western Conference. I think they ain't moved to the back to the East into the '80s, I believe. Um, but yeah, it's like I'm glad Milwaukee's getting like more conventions coming in and things like that, and a lot of stuff is going on here, and it's like when it comes like WWE and maybe NBA. It's like, what are we missing? Like we kind of like upgraded like everything they wanted, especially having like more hotels.
There's more going up.
Yeah, and there's more hotels that's going up too, especially after one that's going to be nearby the Fires of Forum that's going to be start construction this summer. Then you got the other one that's going to be across the street from the Hyatt that's going to be up this summer. Then you got the one on the east side that's going to be starting this summer. It's
Up
like,
by the airport.
yeah, by the airport too. You're right. So there's a lot of things that's going on in here, and it's I don't know what to say, but it's like those are like a big event and stuff like that. So for the people in Milwaukee going up there for WrestleMania last year, like saying you want to do something with WWE, and you know, it seems like everything, big city ones over small market city. So maybe WWE may have some other plans in mind for getting something here, but since everything is almost confirmed, and like I said, except for maybe like, well, we already know the Crown Jewel is going to be in Saudi Arabia in November, so that's confirmed. But they're
It just doesn't sound hopeful anymore, does it?
right. So that just made me just saying like like what's the point? Like should like people like start caring about some of these like small market cities like start caring about WWE and like okay they come here like people know they missed out as we said after the pandemic and stuff like that, and they've been having mostly like sold out shows here in Milwaukee, but it's like what's more is going to take for them to bring something like big like a PLE or something like that. But like I said, we like lucked out over Los Angeles for Money in the Bank. Evolution pay per view. We know the rumor is going to be in Connecticut, and that'll be on July 5th. So they just talking about it, but it's not confirmed. We know SummerSlam is going to be in New Jersey. Clash in Paris will be the end of August in Paris. So you know what? Nothing wrong with that. Um, Also confirmed that there will be a PLE event in Peru, Australia in October. I kind of,
And I will say this, I'm glad that they're going abroad more because there are fans over there who deserve to see stuff.
right,
But just remember, you got to keep your home country happy too.
exactly. Like I can understand, WWE trying to go, global, but still, just like Hazel said, you got to keep the people in America happy as well. Um, like I said, Peru, Australia in October. Crown Jewel most likely will happen in Saudi Arabia. So they only gonna do one this year because they're gonna have the Royal Rumble in January. Well, January or February for Saudi Arabia. So got that. Survivor Series. They mentioned today it's official. It will be in San Diego in November. Um, I forgot what day, but it's gonna be like on after Thanksgiving weekend. So got Survivor Series. The only thing that has been confirmed, like I said, the evolution for the all women's PLE, that and also ruthless aggression, which was rumored, that happened for Boston, which would be John Cena's, final match on the card and final WWE appearance for a while. So yeah, um, I'm sorry, but we don't need to do all that. So we ain't got no time for no jokes or anything like that. So all you're gonna do is just play games and be like a keyboard warrior, and all you do is talk behind the keyboard. You can kick rocks. Um. Anyway, so yeah, that's every like I said, everything in the PLE for WWE is official, except for those two. As for NXT, they still didn't say anything for June yet, and normally they have Heat Wave. So we kind of know that they may not do heat waves, so I think San Diego will probably. No, we'll keep that out there because they might do something, might have that on a Sunday. So that's a possibility. So we'll just keep it there. But we'll just say Milwaukee is out of the picture for Heat Wave. Great American Bash possibility. Um, because we know Saturday night's main event will be in May as well.
I've just had a thought. I'm
Okay,
going to be at an event on Saturday that the mayor's involved in. I'm going to ask him what happened.
thank you. If you get to talk to the mayor.
Oh, I'll be talking to the mayor.
Oh yeah, because I think everybody want to know, what happened with, the situation with, not following through with the bid and stuff like that. And I did, contact Sports Milwaukee, but they were the ones, put the bid on, and I don't know if they didn't give enough or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. Great American Bash, it's a possibility because, like I said, Saturday night main event, they didn't, they got made, but they know it's gonna be July 12th for Saturday night's main event, and it's a possibility we may end up getting that and get the Great American Bash the next night. So that could be a possibility that Milwaukee may have something something that big. So that's a possibility. You never know. So and plus it takes like WWE this long to to mention like a event in Milwaukee, and normally they don't take this long. The pandemic thing, that was one thing. When they decide, go back and like tour, you know, we can understand that, but it's like unless it's gonna be something big for Milwaukee, maybe they can do that, and it's a possibility that something else may come up. But somebody had a thought that I was talking to that King of the Ring 1996, it was the birth of Austin 316. And next year will be the 30th anniversary of Austin 16 was born. So, maybe a possibility, we might have a PLE and it'll be in June, maybe King of the Ring. And it could be here. You never know. They'll do the 30th anniversary of Austin 316. Or have like a big event for that in Milwaukee and go from there. So those are possibilities too. But I guess it's just one of those things you're on the verge is like, why should you care about, going to WWE events, and it's like, you get to, go meet, some of the wrestlers. Either you go to the airport or because they haven't had no like meet and greets. Not at all, but you see all these other places have meet and greets and stuff like that, and Milwaukee hasn't had a meet and greet ever since they had a meet and greet with like Hornswoggle at Cricket. But but the last person they had for a meet and greet was God, who was the last person before? I think it was Becky Lynch before the pandemic. So she was the last. You got these other places not doing no meet and greet and stuff like that. But you have like indie fans that have guests and stuff like that too. But I guess partly it's just not the same. But only time will tell. But the only thing I think will be left that Milwaukee will probably will have, because they got official full dates of June, July, and most of August. Not all dates, all the other dates ain't confirmed yet. Like I said, the Evolution ain't confirmed, and of course, Saturday night main event that's going to be in July, that's not going to be confirmed. But then again, next month maybe they'll mention it. Milwaukee will have Saturday night main event, so it's still something. But maybe they make like a big deal out of it. Like I said, do that, then have you know, if they had a Rare American Bash for Milwaukee, they can do that because in looking at it, there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, with Milwaukee, with having the Summerfest weekend, then had the Harley Davidson, and I think the Harley Davidson is like kind of like that weekend too. So you know what? Why not? I don't know, but then again, the special events, they didn't mention any other special events yet. Maybe tomorrow NXT will mention something. So maybe they have something in April or June or something like that. So it's like one of those wait and sees. But I don't know, maybe like around by 2030, I'm hoping something will actually happen. Something big will happen here, and game is over, and the Brewers lost 2-5. Um, but yeah, something's got to give because you only can do so much and have like so much like going on, like in these small market cities, and I don't know. I just think they just need to be treated better, especially the ones that have like NBA teams and try to like improve in their area. It's like they just being overlooked. But it is gonna be funny because I was at the AEW show, when they had Collision and Ring of Honor. Everybody screamed like at Tony Khan, like pay per view, and although he's saying he will look into it and consider it, but it's gonna be funny if we end up getting a pay per view from AEW next year, but still don't get anything from WWE. So that's got to say something to the WWE, if that's possible. If they, they probably won't mention it. AEW probably won't mention it until when it gets to that time next year, because AEW only comes like once a year in Wisconsin, but WWE comes like 3 times a year in Wisconsin, twice here and one time in Green Bay. I guess right now it's just like wait and see. But you know what? I'm gonna move on from this and calm myself down because I'm still upset and still want what happened with between the plans that they was gonna do have like something big for here and all that. So something's gonna gotta give. Some people are gonna end up because WWE had their dark days in like in the 2010s, and I think it could come to that again if certain places is like okay, we don't get a PLE and stuff like that. Like, what's going on? And and the city has been good to them, and it's just like, what more can you do? But I can ramble on that all day, but I'm gonna just move on, and we're gonna talk about oh yeah, it's over an hour already, so didn't think this was gonna go that far. But anyways, Daredevil Born Again. I like the first 3 seasons of Daredevil, and everything else, like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. Although there are some people that are not big fans of Iron Fist, I don't know why, but I thought they were pretty good. But like I said, it all started with going like I think it was like 5 years past after the third season of Daredevil with this. So all of that is canon with the Netflix series and with the Disney Plus. So they then in the beginning of the first episode, Froggy gets killed and Daredevil went after a bullseye. And, try to kill bullseye, but I would say it was hard to kill. Then Matt Murdock gave up being Daredevil and to focus more on being a lawyer. And if y'all saw Echo, Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, decided to go for mayor, and I think it was like that same episode or episode later, he succeeded in being mayor. And then it is crazy that he's trying to point this persona that he's trying to save the city and stuff like that. And his wife Vanessa wants him to get like back into crime. which he was some. It seems like he was like a little bit torn between that and that, but I guess it shows later on that he didn't change. If y'all saw like the very last episode, yeah, like it just keep pulling him back and he just hadn't changed. But before that, Mac and Wilson end up, had like a meeting and stuff. And like Wilson fixing, cutting off of, all vigilante activity. So if anything happens, he's gonna go after them. And Matt said the same thing. Like, if you cross the line, I'm gonna go back as Daredevil. But he did went back as Daredevil, but he went to go save the guy that played, White Tiger, his daughter. He went to go, save her and from Muse. So that was, another enemy that was on there. He was only on there for like maybe like one or two episodes. That was a good fight. But yeah, it was insane. So right now, they're currently shooting season 2. So that's gonna be out around the same time next year. And Karen, the partner with with Foggy and Matt for like the lawyer agency. Matt now got this big firm partnering it with a couple of people, and Karen kind of doing her own thing and like trying to get out of there after this what happened with Foggy. And the Punisher was in at least like 2 episodes. I think it was the fifth one and also the final one when him and Daredevil had team up going against Wilson's task force going against like vigilantes. So, and I know people probably was interested in the like final episode. Daredevil was thinking he was gonna go after all of them by himself, and they know jump on the Punisher and like lock him up. So Daredevil realized Karen was talking like we need, and now they're all out for Daredevil, especially for Matt, saving Fisk's life by taking the bullet from Bullseye, and the Punisher did say something like why did you save him? And Daredevil's like asking that question myself. So like I said, I thought this season was pretty good, and I liked it, and it seems like season 2 when they get to that point, it's going to be like bigger and better. Maybe all the players that's from the Defenders, like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fix may come back. Help them out, or maybe they'll. And plus, all this is in like Marvel Studios, so they would have more characters to play with. Echo could return as well. So now with Daredevil, which they were limit with characters in the first 3 seasons, now they can do with more characters what they want in season 2. So I think season 2 will be a very big thing. So it's like one of those things, stay tuned for that. But I thought it was pretty great, and somebody did mention that the the first few episodes they were shot because like Daredevil Born Again did some reshoots. And the original idea, they was going to try to do it like start all over and all that stuff, but they realized that it wouldn't make sense, and you might as well just continue on from the first 3 seasons of Daredevil from Netflix. You might as well just continue on from that. So it was a smarter idea, but because that one of the issues was Daredevil didn't suit up until like was the 5th or 6th episode. So what they did, they shoot the first episode and kind of had Daredevil suited up right away. Kind of gave the reason why he didn't want to put on back the suit on. So like I said, he didn't shoot up until like I think it was like the 5th or 6th episode. So it's kind of understandable. And I think they did made it that much better. So rating it and grading this I would give this one a 9.5. by rating it would be an A minus. Ivy, get in here. Ivy,
Where is she?
in the hallway. Sit down. Get over here and sit down. Ivy, sit down. You was out already. You don't need to go out again. But sorry about that. But like I said, A minus and rated it 9.5. So I think the second season will be better and stuff like that. And probably I'll agree with y'all. Probably the reason why I graded it and rated it because he was only suit up for that first episode, then took all the way up to episode like 5 or 6 for him to like to suit up again. So it's probably the only reason why I did that. But overall, pretty good. And the next TV series will be Ironheart. If y'all saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever, you saw Ironheart on there. Um, but yeah, so going her own adventures, and we will just see from there like what's going to happen. So that's going to start showing in June 24th. Then again, and you got next week you got the Thunderbolts that's going to be out, and they said they didn't do any reshoots with Thunderbolts. So and it got like a positive review from test screenings. So should be pretty good, and we'll see what happens. New team, familiar characters, and all that good stuff. So it's like that. Wait and see. And as for DC, I think they got nothing coming out until Superman, which would be in July. So I think they have nothing right now. But I know that Ninja Batman 2 is out. So I got to get that eventually and do my review on that one when I get the chance to see it. So stay tuned for that. One more piece of news before we end the show. It's actually good news. Just put it that way. Damian Lillard moved up from maybe like out to questionable for game 2. If y'all saw my last like before, I was expecting him like to be ready for game 3. I didn't think he was going to play game 2, but I guess now everything, all the information and stuff right now, it's like more hopeful. And they said him running around and stuff like that. The blood cough they said is gone, but he got to get back to somewhat basketball shape and go from there because he can do uh content more like basketball contact with like basketball and stuff like that. Oh, his cousin died from a blood clot on his leg. Okay, so we kind of understand that, and plus like the staff did detected it early, so that's probably why he's going to be back sooner than usual. Which with Victor Wembanyama, which I talked about it when they mentioned that he was going to be out for the season because of it. But yeah, I'm saying I guess so far in advance technologies and stuff like that. So it's just good that got this news, and you know I think game 1 they need to scoring badly. Besides from the bench, the starters. Brooke didn't do much. Yeah, Torian Prince and Kyle Kuzma only like 0 points, and some people having a field day with Kyle Kuzma because he only had no points. But like y'all can get on Kyle Kuzma, but y'all don't get on Torian Prince either or the rest of the team. Like you got to hold like the team accountable. Like with Giannis only having like just 1 assist, and normally he got to do better than that. Now always play like hero ball. Like I know he was doing some passing like in the fourth quarter, but nobody wasn't hitting. So that's one thing. But still, you got to do better than that. You can't always do like bully ball all the time. We know nobody can stop you in the when it comes to anybody in the Pacers, but still, it's not a one man army. There's times that Giannis just got to realize that it's not a one man army. Now I hope Damian Lillard don't come out that way too, because he's like a scorer first and pass second. So like I said, he did return, competition like reconditioning. That's what he's doing right now. So right now, tomorrow's game tomorrow. And Tyler Smith, I didn't know about this with the left ankle sprain. I didn't know that until I saw this today. So he's gonna be out. So could have been another factor. So and plus, how you gonna play Jericho Sims like 10 minutes? I don't get that. I don't know. Like I said, um, Saturday's game, I hold everybody accountable, including the coaches. So hopefully you adjust and go back and go to the drawing board and at least get at least one win in Indiana. So a lot of people still got the Bucks favor to win the series. So right now it's just like one of those wait and sees, and maybe some teams maybe the team will like come back from that and be better. So you know just wait and see. Anyways, that's it, guys. Like I said, I appreciate y'all watching. Thank you for people that's watching through Twitch. We try to do live content like almost every day. And if you have an opportunity, you can check out the WFSO Wrestling Talk. I did an interview with the lovely Hazel, so you can check that episode out. It is out on Spotify and also on YouTube right now. So you get a chance, check that out. And please, people that's watching on Twitch, please share the channel. Let people know the content we does besides those three contests and talk about developments that's going on in Milwaukee. So if you're interested in all those subjects that we talk about, you will like this channel. And after you people on YouTube, thanks for the like today. Um, Also, please subscribe to the channel, and we're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. We can do more stuff if we're get to that point. Maybe get up more subscribers. So after 1,000, I'm just gonna say you guys like to subscribe. I'm not gonna set any goals like after we get to 1,000. So we get higher than that, great. If not, still great too. Like as long as we get to a certain point. Um, but anyways, like I said, over 2,500 videos and counting. Check them out. Maybe some things you could be interested in. You never know. Also check out the website wrestlingfanspeakout.weebly.com. Upcoming events in the Midwest, wrestling wise, wrestling events we've been to, and Bucks events we've been to. Pictures of wrestlers, also other stuff, and just other stuff y'all could be interested in. And thanks to Mike and Robin Thompson for sponsorship. You're interested in being sponsored, get a hold of me on here. But anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. And we didn't think it was going to be this long, but it's like almost an hour, 30 minutes. So, once again, thank you guys for watching. Until the next video, you guys have a good one. Okay.